Hi, yogis. My name is Jake, and I'll be your yoga teacher for the day. We'll be here for an hour. We'll be doing chair yoga, starting with a little bit of grounding and breath awareness. We'll switch from that into our movement portion. Um, a little disclaimer as we're working from the chair primarily, you always have the option to do alternate poses, whether that's on the mat. If I get up and I'm cueing from a standing position, feel free to adapt. Try to find an alternative pose you can do while seated or take a rest. We just want to be mindful of any existing injuries or areas that are painful, and don't really worry about trying to match what I'm doing. Listen to your body. If you feel pain, go ahead and back off from some of those poses and find something that works better. So let's get started. Find a comfortable position. This can be cross-legged on the floor or in your chair. If you are seated, make sure your feet are planted firmly, knees directly above the ankles, finding some alignment in the spine. So we're stacking our head over our heart, over our pelvis, a nice, tall, straight spine. We'll inhale, take those shoulders up and back, allowing those shoulder blades to come together. On an inhale, maybe we get a little bit taller in the spine. So there we are, nice and tall. And for a little bit of grounding, we're paying attention to what's in contact with the floor, with the chair. We're noticing what does the mat or the floor feel like underneath our feet? Soft or firm. Same thing with the chair underneath our sits bones and our hamstrings. What are we feeling? Noticing how that support is holding us up. As we breathe in, on our inhales, you might notice your body getting a little lighter. Exhaling, feeling that weight distribute out to the hips and around you into your chair. A little extra grounding and stability. As we shift our awareness now outside the room you're in, just taking a quick second, noticing any sounds, any happenings, and then drawing awareness a little closer to the room you're in, closer yet to this little bubble right around you, this little 3-foot space. Engaging in your senses. What do you see, smell? Any lingering tastes on your mouth? The air quality, is it warm or cool? And as we further draw our awareness inward, now we're paying special attention to our breath, noticing where the air is entering the body. So if you've sealed your lips, you're breathing in and out through your nose. Notice that air passing between the nostrils, down the windpipe, all the way toward the hips, toward the low belly. We're filling the low belly up. This is where our sense of calm can come from. Activating and stimulating that vagus nerve, which is going to help us through our practice be in more of a rest and digest state rather than fight or flight. And as we're breathing, you have the option to take one or both hands across the low belly or one hand over the chest, one over the low belly for a little tactile feedback into your breath. We would like to see that low belly, those low ribs expanding and contracting like a big balloon as we breathe. Not so much movement in the chest, a lot of shallow breathing, anxious breathing, panic breathing goes on up here, up top. So try to send that breath nice and low down into the belly. Focusing in on that breath. Knowing that this breath is there for you through the practice, throughout the day. And as we move from one pose, one asana to the next, see if you can't find this deep breath pattern again. We'll keep checking in, just making sure we have this deep breath going. And before we get moving, I'll offer an invitation of gratitude. It can be something seemingly small, something very obvious and big in your life. And noticing how practicing gratitude might shift our mindset. And if that takes you to a happier place, feel free to smile. And if gratitude is eluding you today, that's all right. You'll find it, it'll come to you at a later time. And just when it does, try to embrace it. So let's take a few more deep breaths here, in and out from the belly. Using the next couple breaths to slowly open your eyes if you close them. We'll begin to bring some movement and awareness back into the body, to the extremities first, starting with the fingers and toes. Start to warm everything up. Taking a minute just to move organically, however your body is calling you to move. So we've been sitting for a few minutes. Do what you need to do. And we'll start off by taking our hips toward the edge of the chair, planting our feet firmly, and we'll start with the head and neck, taking some rotations. Imagine there's a marker or something on your nose, and you're going to draw some circles very slow on a board. And we'll do 5 in each direction. You may even choose as you're going through these to match your breath to your movement, inhaling up and maybe exhaling on the way down. When both sides feel evened out, we'll bring it back to center. This time we'll drop our right ear toward our right shoulder. Still sitting up tall. Option to stay here or let the left hand hang. Even letting that left hand get nice and heavy. Option to stay here or to take the right fingertips on top, just above the left ear, to apply the slightest bit of pressure, truly stretch out this left side of the neck. As we inhale, gently bring the head back to center. We'll relax and release that. We'll breathe in. And as we exhale, take the left ear toward the left shoulder. This time, letting the right arm hang nice and heavy. Option to stay here or take those left fingertips just above the right ear for ever such a small amount of pressure. Inhale, bring it back to center, unravel. All right, now for some shoulder shrugs. We're going to bring the shoulders on an inhale forward and up. Exhale, floating them down. So we'll do a couple more of those. And the next time your shoulders are all the way back, your shoulder blades will keep our shoulders pressed back slightly. Feet are still planted. We'll take a seated mountain pose. If you'd like to get up and stand for this mountain, make sure you have your balance. Our feet are pressed in through the floor, legs activated, our navel tucked in toward our spine, palms facing each other or slightly forward. Inhaling to get a little bit taller, perhaps, in the spine. Exhaling to tilt the chin just a little bit. Reconnecting with that breath. Seated mountain, Hartadasana. All right, we'll get the hamstrings going, the hamstrings and calves. If you have a strap handy or a belt, go ahead and grab it. Otherwise, I'll give you an option if you don't have a belt handy. So we'll extend the right leg out long. And if you don't have a belt, simply kick this right heel out away from you and flex the left toes toward your body for a little bit of a calf stretch. We can use our strap, take that over the ball of the foot, applying a little bit of tension, sitting up nice and straight. On an inhale, we'll take this left heel up off the floor, sitting up nice and tall. On an inhale, we'll take the strap into our right hand. So you have the option to lower the right foot and take a rest, or help guide the right foot out wide. Stretching those adductors. And then we'll bring it back to center with control on an exhale. Gently lower that right foot down. We'll pause, take a full breath. Get reset, and then we'll extend the left leg out. If you have your strap, go ahead and loop that around the ball of that left foot. Applying a little bit of pressure onto that strap, a little tension. We're sitting up nice and tall. And the reason I say that, I keep bringing it up, that little detail. If you're collapsed in your spine, rounded in your back, there's not much going on in terms of a stretch. The more you lean forward, now that calf, that hamstring starts to activate. On an inhale, we'll start to lift this left heel off the floor, keeping a slight bend in the left knee, reconnecting with that breath. Option to lower this left foot and take a rest, or guide the left leg out wide. All right, we'll bring it back to center. Big bend in the left knee. We'll plant the left foot down, and we'll hold on to the strap for a minute. Warming up the shoulders now. We'll get a grip on the strap a little wider than shoulder width apart. Now, if you don't have that strap, just feel free to raise and lower your arms, following along with this motion. We'll inhale, take it up and overhead. As we begin to exhale, float it down. Do 4 more, using your own breath to guide your movement to guide your breath. We're all going to be a little different here. It's okay. Next time you inhale, we'll take the strap halfway, or take your arms up halfway. We'll bring our navel in toward our spine. We're sitting up nice and tall. We'll inhale, and as you exhale, we're going to twist to the right, squeezing those abs in. Inhaling to bring it back to center. Exhaling, twisting to the left. Squeeze those side abs. Inhale back to center and over to the right. Once again, use your breath to guide your movement. Exhaling off to the sides, inhaling back to center. We'll inhale back to center once more. And as we exhale, we'll release, set that strap off to the side. Take our hands to our knees now, and we will get ready for cat-cow. I'll move my chair just to give maybe a little better perspective here on this. So I have my hips right at the edge of the chair, knees above my ankles, feet planted firmly, hands on my knees. Let's inhale. We're going to open up the chest, bring those shoulders back, look up. Exhaling, round the spine, bring your chin toward your chest. We're using our breath to guide our movement. Inhaling for cow, exhaling into cat. All right. Take a couple more of those. We'll inhale together into our cow. Exhaling into cat. This time, instead of coming straight forward, as we begin to inhale, let's bump our shoulders over to the right and forward. Exhaling, taking them to the left and back. Working on those hips. We want both hips planted equally into the chair. Wherever you are, pause. We'll change direction. Seeing if you can't really slow these down. All right, and then on your next inhale, we'll bring it back to center. For our figure four, let's inhale to take the right leg in, give it a squeeze in toward the body, and we'll cross the right ankle over the left leg. Now, the details are important in this pose. We don't want our back rounded. We want to be really straight and upright. Option to take your right hand to the inside of this right thigh, applying just a little downward pressure. It could be just a featherweight amount. We're seeing if we can maybe give a little extra something to this hip. All right, let's breathe in, sit up nice and tall, exhaling to lean forward. As we're here, we're focusing on the muscles being stretched, focusing in on our breath. All right, we'll take a breath in. And as we start to exhale, we'll unravel, planting that right foot back down. Pausing to notice right side versus left. What are you feeling? Reconnecting with that breath. All right, as you inhale, let's take the left leg in, give it a squeeze. We'll cross left and go over right leg. Same thing over here. Option to place a little weight, very little, into the inside of this left leg. And when you are ready, we'll start to sit up nice and tall, leaning forward as you exhale. This might be only a fraction of an inch. You're very limber. Maybe you're really folded over here. All right, as you inhale, let's unravel the left leg, plant that left foot down, and we'll inhale, take our palms up and overhead, palms together as we begin to exhale, palms down, float it all the way down. Do a couple more. Once more, taking our arms up and overhead. This time we'll take the right hand and place it down, um, palm planted by this right hip or holding on to the side of the chair. Inhale to get a little taller in these left fingers. And as you exhale, bending to the right, sinking that left hip into your chair for a side bend. You want to be looking forward or maybe a little bit up, trying to avoid this collapse as we're looking down. Inhaling, you may feel those left ribs expanding up toward the sky. All right, let's inhale back to center, both arms up and overhead. As you exhale, we'll float that left hand down. Get a little taller in those right fingers. As you exhale, we're going to bend to the left. Right hip this time, getting nice and heavy into that chair. Using an inhale, I'm going to bring it back both arms up and overhead. And then we'll float our hands down, resting your hands in your lap, palms down or palms facing up. We'll rest here for a couple breath cycles. And for our full body twist coming up, we have two options. We can keep both feet planted firmly for both sides, for both twists, or we can cross our legs. So feel free to keep them planted for this part, or if you'd like to cross them, we'll inhale to take the right leg in and we'll cross the right leg over the left. When you do that, we want to make sure that this left knee is stacked over the left ankle, left foot planted firmly. We're sitting up tall. Inhale, arms up and overhead. We'll twist our upper body to the right slightly, and as we exhale, let our hands drop down. So my left forearm is across my right leg, and I'm holding onto the side of the chair. You plant your palm by your right hip. Inhale to grow tall. Exhale and start to twist. Look past that right shoulder. Remember, this is a gentle twist. We're not using this left arm as a lever to crank into it. And while you're here, you may notice the restriction in your belly, which may make it a little harder to breathe deeply, and that's okay. I'm going to try to keep that deep breath going. All right, let's inhale to come back to center. We'll unravel that right leg, plant the right foot down, and we'll take a couple breaths here. All right, up next, let's take an inhale and bring this left leg up, and then we'll cross the left leg over the right, making sure the right knee is over right ankle and that we have a good firmly rooted right foot into the floor. So we're pressing this right foot into the floor just a little bit. We'll inhale, both arms up and overhead, getting nice and tall, twisting to the left, and then letting our arms float down. On our next inhale, we'll get a little taller. And as we breathe out, we're going to twist and turn left. All right, we'll inhale, bring it back to center, unravel, and plant the left foot back down. And we'll take a couple breaths while we're here. All right, to get our upper back stretched out, let's bring our palms together, inhaling to open them up nice and wide, even tilting these fingers like we're pointing them behind us. Option to look up for a little back bend and back to center. As we exhale, taking the right arm across the body, seeing where it stops naturally. And then squeezing or hugging this right arm into the body. Instead of this arm just being sort of inactive, we're gently pressing the right arm into the left forearm or wrist so that there's a little bit of oppositional force going. So where do you feel this stretch happening? Maybe in your rhomboid muscle, around your scapula, your upper back. Near that rear deltoid. As you inhale, the next time we'll unravel. Give your shoulders a little rest. And then we'll bring our palms back together, sitting up nice and tall. Inhaling to open up wide. Option for that back bend. And as you breathe out, take the left arm, draw it across, seeing where it stops, and then hugging it in. We're pressing just a little bit this left arm into the right. All right, let's take an inhale to gently unravel. Place your hands back down onto your legs or your lap and take a few breaths. Seeing if we can't send those breaths back down into the belly. All right, up next is wide-legged forward fold. If you have a block, go ahead and snag it if you need it. Otherwise, a big sturdy book or a little box will do. We want to make sure that our hips are, on the edge of your chair. We'll heel toe, our legs out wide. We want to make sure that our feet are planted, knees above ankles, and that our toes are pointing same direction as our knees. All right, awesome. We'll inhale, sit up tall. This movement's going to come from our hips now. Exhaling to hinge forward, landing your hands on the block or maybe even the floor. And when you get there, inhaling to get a little taller, and as you exhale, you might find you can go drop a little more. We're active through our feet. We're pressing our feet into the floor so that our legs are activated. You can feel the quads and hamstrings, the calves tighten up a little bit. That's going to hold us up. We're activating our core, sending our navel in toward our spine so that actually our hands are a little lighter on this block. We don't want to dump all of our weight into our hands. We'll stay here for a few more breaths. There's the option to lower down a little more if you don't have any blood pressure issues or issues passing out or getting dizzy. Feel free to lower your head below your heart, releasing or relaxing the muscles in your neck and allowing the just gravity to pull a little traction on your head. All right, let's take our right hand either to a block or on the floor. We're going to place it right in between our feet. As we inhale, we're going to trace the left fingertips across the right arm, across the chest, point them up. As we exhale, we're going to float it down, replace the left hand with the right. And then as we inhale, we're going to send the right fingertips up high. We'll do one more on each side, using your breath to guide you. All right. To rise up out of this pose nice and safely, we really want to press our feet into the floor, almost like we're going to stand up. We can rise up incrementally or all at once, but we're going to take a big inhale as we press down to come up. All right. And then we'll heel toe our feet back a little wider than shoulder width. Now, as we get ready to get out of our chair, we'll stretch our quads, Um, do a little down dog. First, I want to show you an option for a quad stretch if you would like to attempt this from the chair. So if that's the case, we'll pivot 90 degrees on our seat so that one hip is hanging off, one is planted in the chair. You'll take one arm and you can grab the back of the chair for a little more stability. Once your feet are nice and planted and you feel centered and sturdy, you can breathe in to take this right leg up. You're looking for a pant leg, an ankle, maybe your shin. And as you exhale, dropping this right knee toward the floor, letting it get nice and heavy. Looking forward. So there's your seated quad stretch. If you would like to stay in your chair, otherwise, we'll press into our feet. Inhale to rise up. And before we do any balancing poses, I like to find our own balance, our center of gravity. So in order to do that, let's take our hands toward our hips as we inhale. We'll bring the hips forward. Exhale, sending them back. Inhale forward, exhale back. You can start to exaggerate this movement, coming up off your heels and the balls of your feet. Thinking of where that center of gravity is between your feet. Back and forth a couple more times. Next time you inhale, we're coming up, raising our heels off the floor, exhaling to slowly lower down. We'll raise the toes, and beginning with the pinky toe, we'll lower all the way down to our big toe, almost adding a little bit more space under our arch as we claw our toes down into the floor. You're standing on your mat or on a rug or whatever. Imagine there's a piece of paper between your feet and you're almost trying, without much effort, to create a little tear. So our feet are pressing down. We'll have a slight bend in the knees, neutral on the hips. Bring our navel in. Let's do a couple shoulder rolls. So we'll inhale, bring them forward, scrunch them up, let them fall back. Next time they're back, we'll keep them there. Inhaling to get a little taller, exhaling to maybe tilt the chin. We'll meet in our Tadasana, our standing mountain. And while you're here, there's the option to soften your gaze or close your eyes for a few breath cycles. And imagine in your mind's eye a mountain. What do you see when you look at that mountain? Any thoughts, any feelings that it provokes? And when you're ready, so we'll have our right leg along the chair. So if you're seated and want to take those seated quad stretches, go ahead. We'll take our hands to our hips and shift our weight on top of our standing leg. So this is my right leg. This outer leg gets a little lighter. You even might come off the floor a little. You have your chair here for any kind of extra balance that you need. On an inhale, we'll bring the leg up. Find the shin, find your foot. You can throw a strap around that ankle, and then we'll lower the left knee toward the floor. While you're here, find a drishti, a focal point, something to focus your eyes on. You have that standing leg, so that right foot toes are clawing into the floor. We have our navel tucked in and we're breathing good and deep. So there's a lot going on in these balancing poses. It can be easy to forget your breath. So there's your gentle reminder. One more deep breath in. As you begin to exhale with control, we'll gently, slowly release the left foot, pausing here to see, or to feel, notice rather, the right side versus the left. Any differences, anything you can perceive, same or different. All right, we'll take it to side B. So now I've got my left leg alongside the chair. Take our hands to our hips and shift that weight, shift our hips directly on top or over the left foot. This outer leg will get nice and light. On an inhale, bring that left leg up so that you can find something to hold on to, pant leg or ankle or foot. As you breathe out, lowering that right knee, letting that knee draw nice and heavy toward the floor. Finding again that drishti and reconnecting with your breath. All right, take a big breath in. As you exhale with control, gently release. Send that right foot down. Pause once again. Left and the right side. Do you notice? Has anything changed from the start of practice or from one pose until now? All right. For a little more in hamstring region, we'll work on our downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. If you're standing and like to get go to your down dog from the mat, maybe you find a tabletop position first and then get there. Otherwise, if we're using the chair, we have our feet pretty close toward the back of the chair. I'm going to have my hands planted on the back of the chair, making sure there are no tripping hazards. All right, we'll take a few steps back. All right, as we exhale, starting to lower that upper body down into a rough L shape. Keeping in mind everyone's range of motion is going to be dramatically different here, so you may need to really put a bend in your knees. You might have them a little more straightened. We're sending our hips back behind us. Feet about hip width apart, toes pointing forward. So this is kind of a pose where you can do some exploration, and that can be changing how much bend is in your knees, alternating, bending one leg and straightening the other, going back and forth, nice and slow, walking the dog. You can stay static and just hold the pose as you breathe. When you are ready, we'll bend those knees generously. As you start to inhale, we'll start to walk our feet up, back toward the back of the chair. And when you get there, we'll take some standing calf raises. On an inhale, raising your heels off the floor, using the back of the chair for that stability. So as we're exhaling, Lowering the heels, you may even raise the toes. Get that tibialis anterior involved. Why not? Inhaling to come up, exhaling to lower, nice and slow. A few more. All right, and send it down. So we get ready to get back in our chairs to finish things off. We'll meet back in our seats. And we'll begin to get our hands involved, starting with our thumbs, doing some thumb rotations. We'll do 3 or 4 in each direction, working our way all the way to the pinkies. And then taking some wrist rotation. So making a little bit of a loose fist, drawing those wrists in some big circles, and then changing direction. Next, let's bring our palms together, Anjali Mudra, elbows, up a little higher. We'll shift the left palm up and into the fingers of the right hand. This is going to be pressure that's coming from both directions. Being mindful not to overstretch the fingers and wrists here. Don't forget the thumb. When you're ready, we'll switch. And then we'll give our hands a good shake. And then we'll take our palms, place them back on our lap as we prepare for our guided rest. Find a position that you can feel most comfortable in. So if you've been sitting on the edge of your chair, feel free to stay there, or for a little more support, bringing your hips back a little further. Choosing a hand mudra that feels right for you. We'll take a few shoulder shrugs. Again, inhaling, scrunching them up, exhaling, taking them back. Next time your shoulders go back, we'll make sure that we're sitting nice and tall. Option to soften your gaze or close your eyes. I'll make sure our feet are planted. When you get there, we're trying to find stillness, but if you need to move, go ahead and move. You need to scratch, go ahead and scratch. We're trying to be as comfortable as we can. And we'll take a breath together, in and out through the nose. As we focus on our breath, as we rest and integrate this practice, maybe you adopt a breath pattern of your own, something that you've done in the past that feels good. You could try inhaling for a 4 count and extending the exhale for a count of 5. Whatever you choose to do or whatever hand mudra you go with, just know that any thoughts that arise, you can acknowledge them, let them float by, and without any judgment, extending some grace to yourself, we'll bring our attention back as many times as you need to, right back to the here and now, right back to your breath. And I'll leave you here to breathe. So I'll stop talking for a couple minutes, and then I'll guide you back, and we'll wrap up class. All right, yogis, start to draw our awareness and attention back into our body. As we bring some movement back, start to wake things up, and wiggle the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, taking any kind of movement or stretches that maybe we missed in class, or just anything that feels good for the next moment. We'll begin to return our breath back to its normal rhythm. Just remember that at any time, you can always come back to this breath. We do this deep breathing a lot. It's like a type of training that you can fall back on or go back to when you need it. So just know that it's always there. All right, let's take our palms together. We'll meet in Anjali Mudra, inhaling our chest up to our palms. All right, let's have the biggest breath we've had all day. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Option to bring your thumbs up to your third eye for a slight bow. It's an honor to do yoga with you. I'm glad you decided to check this out. And anyways, hope you have a great day.